And we're back one more time with another episode of The Horror Guys.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
And we're going to talk about some horror movies, aren't we?
4 movies in a short, like always.
Saw some interesting and quite good things.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly.
We had Children of the Corn, that brand new requel, postquel, reboot.
It's a reboot. I don't
It's
think
a
this is a
reboot.
sequel in any way.
It could be. You know, it totally could. Could be a sequel.
All different
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah. But, you know, he who walks behind the rose is a powerful entity that picked another town, another field. I kind of saw it that way.
You could stretch it that way.
I saw the stretch that way. Anyway, and a film called Dance of the Dead from 2008, a zombie kind of comedy sort of thing, and a sci-fi horror, Under the Skin.
It's a weird one.
That's a weird one. And another one that was, I've lost my note. What's it? The Dark House?
The Night House.
The Night House.
Also a weird one.
Yeah. Weird, ghostly, toastly things going on.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're also going to throw in a short film in the middle, as always.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, if you are signed up over at horrorbulletin.com for our weekly email newsletter, you're also going to hear about 1982's The Slumber Party Massacre.
And that movie was so good that they rebooted it.
Oh, and then we also talked about the 2021 film called Slumber Party Massacre.
We immediately watched them.
Watched them both.
Yeah, back to back, and yeah, that was a hoot actually. Both of them are quite good, I thought.
Yeah.
And the remake was worthy.
Worthy. Okay.
I'm gonna say
not
worthy,
fabulous.
not fantastic. Worthy. Yeah, both of them were entertaining.
Okay, and as always, if you go over to horrorguysshop.com, you can find all our books there. We've got the free Horror Guys Guide to the Halloween Films. It's still free. It's always going to be free for an ebook.
Forever.
And something different this month, the Horror Bulletin Monthly, our monthly print version of our reviews, is available. I'm too many podcasts.
Yeah, I think so.
The monthly magazine, issue number 20, will be 100% free for the ebook this month.
Ooh,
over at horrorguysshop.com.
that's nice.
That'll be going up there within the next couple of days, either probably the 3rd or the 4th. This is the 2nd, and it's not done yet.
Yeah.
Of course, if you usually get it in the print version on Amazon or Lulu or somewhere like that, it's there like always. But it's not free because paper. Because Amazon needs their cut.
Yeah, they charge too much.
But if you've never tried one and you want to try one, check out issue 20. Download it in PDF format or ebook format for your Kindle or your iPad or your phone, and read it to your heart's content. And if you like that, there's 19 more of them on horrorguysshop.com.
Yeah, I know how this works. You like to
give them a taste.
The Candyman, give them a little taste, and then they get hooked.
Anyway,
Anyway.
the Candyman doesn't do that. He hooks you a different way.
Not that Candyman. No,
that was last week's show.
Yes.
All right, Children of the Corn 2023, written by Kurt Wimmer and Stephen King, directed by Kurt Wimmer, stars Elena Kampouris, Kate Moyer, Callan Mulvey, hour and 33 minutes. Spoiler-free, what happens?
This could take place either years after the first movie, or it could be a reboot leading to the first movie taking place in the future.
Or, in my opinion, it's just a reboot.
Or just a reboot. Okay, he thinks it's just a reboot. There's some strong performances and good effects and issues you have to work hard not to nitpick. It's
Don't think too hard.
It's decent, but it's not great. But,
all right.
But it was entertaining. You know, I was glad I saw it. I was looking forward to seeing it, and I did not regret.
Some of the performances were pretty good.
It's hit and miss
Just
on the performances.
Don't think too hard because it's
And
overall it's kind of dumb.
There's some things you don't have. Yeah, bad science. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we open on, I won't spoil it entirely, but we'll get into it a bit. We open on Rylstone Children's Home, where a little girl watches Boyd stagger in from the cornfield. He picks up a knife and a gun and says, "I don't want you to cry anymore, Eden. Don't worry, nothing ever really dies in the corn." Boyd then stabs a man and kills all the adults in the children's home. The police pump in knockout gas to get Boyd to calm down, and the knockout gas kills all the kids.
Oops.
Oops.
Yeah.
That went well.
No, it did not.
Well, we see the headline that 15 people died inside. Pastor Penny comes to the police station to talk to Eden, the only survivor of the incident. He wants her to come live with him. As credits roll, we see the town of Rylestone is looking pretty bleak. A lot of the stores have closed down.
They're having financial troubles, and the corn is not thriving.
No.
The fields are dying, and things are bleak.
Bad corn.
Yeah.
Cecil and Bolin Williams walk through the rotting cornfield, and she reveals that she's going off to college next week. He whines that with his grades, he'll be stuck in this creepy, dying town forever. Then Eden rides up on her horse. She's infatuated with the Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland. And it looks like Eden and her many friends are making some kid walk the plank from a water tower. This did not look like a safe children's activity.
No, not
the sort
at
of thing
all.
they do in the 60s. Well, Calder Covington comes out of the field and yells that the kids have broken out the windows in his car. Well, Bo and Calder go off together. He just turned 18 last week, and he's growing weed to make enough money to get out of town.
The other crop.
It's not corn, but it pays.
Yeah.
There's a town meeting. Robert, Bo's father, blames big corn and GMOs. Pastor Penny says it has more to do with their moral and spiritual failings. Another man simply wants to accept subsidies and never grow corn again. Bo says she disagrees with both of them. All they do is argue and sell their souls to different masters. They need to restore the soil. You know, I have never seen a town meeting that lets a 14-year-old, 16-year-old talk.
No.
Shut up, kid. Get in the back row.
Get lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they take a vote, completely ignoring the many children in the room, as, you know, adults tend to do.
Mm-hmm.
Kids don't get a vote. And these are little kids,
Well,
too.
Bo-
6 and 7-year-olds.
Bo was 18, though.
Okay.
Yeah, practically an adult.
But she brings in
close
all these
enough.
kids with
She
her
does
like
bring in
anybody
all the
cares what they
children.
think.
Yeah, the children are trying to chime in.
Well, one guy takes umbrage to all these children wanting to vote, and everyone laughs at the kids. The measure to plow over the corn and take subsidies passes. No more corn.
Nope.
Well, Eden goes out into the cornfield to cry in embarrassment, and the corn reaches out to comfort her. The tractors and the threshers get ready to dig up the cornfields, and Eden talks to the children. Bo calls her father a sellout, and he kinda agrees.
Mm-hmm. But he's kind of stuck.
Yeah, there's no good choice here.
Yeah.
Cecil walks down the street and overhears arguing in every house. Eden comes out of the dark and says, "I can help with your pain." Is that what they did in the Star Trek V? Not the same.
Not the same.
She leads him out to the cornfield, where a bunch of kids sit in a circle singing. They go on a little further, and he sees it.
He who walks.
Bo talks to her teenage friends about contacting an internet reporter to help with the town's problems. Bo catches Eden and all the children painting the corn roots red with the blood of pigs. Bo tells Eden and all the kids to spread the word about a secret town meeting tonight at the town hall. She asks Cecil, "Are we making a mistake?" There's a plan for this town meeting.
There is.
And we'll stop there, because spoilers.
The children rise up.
Well, Kate Moyer, as Eden, is really very good as a psychotic little Eden. Elena Camporis, as Bo, was not so impressive and wasn't really particularly convincing as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
But I suspect that was more to do to the unrealistic writing more than her acting. Yeah, if you want to say teenager, you just go there. You're not fooling me. Well, this one doesn't offer the same religious evangelism that Isaac did in the original film. Eden's just evil because.
Well, the kids have gotten screwed over, got ignored.
There's reasons.
Those children
yes.
got killed right in front of her, and the pastor, I think, was creeping on her. I think there was some implication that he was doing naughty things to her, because when she rises up, and that's one of the things she mentions, you got to pay for your sins.
I did not pick up anything like that.
Yeah, he was kind of a creeper, and I got the impression he was doing bad things, or trying to.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the original was also making a statement on evangelicals, cults, and religious fanatics. This one is basically just a mind-controlling monster who lives in a cornfield.
Not controlling, but heavily influencing, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, pulling the strings.
The monster effects were decent, I may actually have overrated the word decent. Let's say subpar. The more I think about it, yeah, it's Groot.
I am Groot.
Yeah, it's Groot.
It did look a lot like Groot. Imagine if Groot, instead of being wood, he looks like he's made of a tree, or if he was made of corn stalks. And yeah, that's pretty much how he looked.
You thought it looked like corn stalks. I thought it looked like Groot.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could see it was made of corn. Yeah.
Okay, well, the logic behind that much fuel not evaporating and still making a burnable line from miles away is just ridiculous.
Yeah, they do some things with gasoline spills that
Gasoline doesn't work
just
like that.
don't think about it too much. Yeah.
It wasn't awful taken on its own. If you want to see the movie and the trailer looks good, it's fine. But it does pale in comparison to the original, and it didn't need to be made.
I mean, I know there was the original, and then they made a zillion sequels.
There's at least seven part 7.
I haven't seen all the sequels, but my take on it was this is years and years later. This is the same creature has taken up another home and is influencing new group of kids, and that's how it feeds and draws energy is, sacrifices and killings, and that was my take on it. Not necessarily a reboot.
I disagree, but there's really nothing in the movie that says one way or the other.
It could, it's not conclusive.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was entertaining. You should see it. If you like the Children of the Corn movies, you should check this one out.
All right, and next up we have 2008's Dance of the Dead, directed by Greg Bishop, written by Joe Ballerini, stars Jared Kusnitz, Grayson Chadwick, and Chandler Darby. Hour and a half. Trailer in the show notes if you're not familiar with this one. Spoiler free. It's loaded with dark humor and bucket loads of gore. This is another one that surprised us with how entertaining it was. You look at the cover on the DVD, and it's a bunch of teenagers looking like, one of those pick them off one at a time kind of movies.
It's not that. Not quite.
There's a little bit of a slow start as they set up all the characters and go through some unfortunately necessary teen drama. But once it gets going, it's a wild ride.
Worst prom ever.
All right, spoil some of it for us.
We haven't had a prom this bad since Carrie's.
This one's up there.
Yeah. We open on the caretaker of a cemetery doing all his caretaker things, and occasionally he hears a faint moaning. Suddenly an arm shoots out of the grave and chokes him until he gets his clippers and cuts the hand off. And he nonchalantly puts it in his box with a bunch of other body parts and covers it up. This has been going on a while, apparently. And credits roll. Well, it's the night of the Casa High School prom. Jimmy and Lindsay talk about the prom during biology class. Steve and Gwen don't want to dissect their frog, but the teacher forces them. Jimmy and Steven wind up in detention with Kyle, the redneck punk. Steven's friends are the school nerds, but Gwen wants to invite Nash, the van guy, to prom instead. So we're setting up all the drama and these people interrelating. Nash says he'd rather chew his own tongue out than go to prom. So there's a no. Well, we get it ready for the prom montage with most of the characters we've already met and a few others. It's, plenty of extras to be killed off. Stephen and the nerds go to the cemetery instead with their electronic devices, and they meet the gravedigger. Meanwhile, Mitch and Lindsay are making out in a parked car at the same cemetery. Stephen's group goes to a mausoleum and goes inside. It's got a coffin laying on the floor for some reason, so they have to open it, and it's empty. Well, a zombie grabs Rob and eats his brains as the others run away.
Oops.
Yeah. Mitch also gets eaten, and Lindsay sees a whole gaggle of zombies rising up. The gravedigger hears her screams, and he goes to work. He tells Stephen's group to smash them in the brains and kill them. But their zombies are literally leaping out of the ground.
These are some really active zombies.
They are, yeah, when they come out, yeah.
They're like exploding out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. Once they rise up, they're kind of slow and rambly, but boy, yeah. And it's like the whole cemetery is coming to life, so they're hopelessly outnumbered, can't kill them all.
There's no skeletons. It's just the entire cemetery is like fresh-looking dead.
Yeah, well, relatively fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back at school, the prom commences. In the biology lab, the teacher has a run-in with undead animal specimens and is killed by a zombie frog.
He totally had it coming.
Yes, he did, but that was such an awesome scene. Jimmy runs into Kyle, but some zombies steal Jimmy's car. They can drive, too. Kyle has a gun, which is useful until he almost shoots Gwen. The three of them battle hordes of zombies and find out that the zombies disassemble rather easily.
You pull their arms right off.
Yeah, pull their arm off and beat them with them. Nash and his band buddies soon find out that the dead are paralyzed by music.
As long as they play, they're okay.
Yeah, they're practicing their rock band in the garage. Zombies closing in, and they start playing, and the zombies freeze. They're mesmerized. But how long can you keep playing? Well, Lindsay sees Jimmy's car, but of course Jimmy's not driving, so she calls Jimmy, who promises to come after her. Lindsay, Stephen, and Kyle take a shortcut through the sewers, and the tunnels are full of green goop. Waste from the nuclear plant that has been seeping into the ground to reanimate the dead. Well, soon everyone's barricaded in a big old house, and then they realize they're in a funeral home.
There's bodies already in here.
More bodies. So they fight those off. Kyle gets bitten and dies, and he gets up again in no time, and he's even meaner than before. Jimmy wants to go to the prom and save everyone there. Gwen breaks out, steals the hearse to drive the others to the prom. And they meet up with the coach, who's a crazy prepper type with weapons ready to go.
It's like he was waiting for this.
Oh, yeah, it's his day. Yeah. They record Nash and the band. They rescue Nash and the band, who are getting exhausted from jamming out.
What do you say? They were playing for 14 hours straight?
Nash thinks they are attracted to music like bees in a hive. So they're going to be using this. Well, they arrive at too late. Almost everyone at the school is dead. The coach, actually everybody was, at the prom. Yeah, the prom. Yeah, they were too late. The coach wants to wire the whole place with explosives, which he's prepared for. He gets that all set up, but then he drops the detonator in the gym where all the zombies are.
In the middle of the zombie prom is a detonator for the bomb.
Well, Jimmy needs to go after it, and Lindsay goes with him. She doesn't want to miss the prom. They're soon surrounded, and it looks grim, but suddenly Nash and his friends climb the stage and start playing, which distracts the dead long enough for Jimmy and Lindsay to get in a dance and grab the detonator. Gwen confides to Stephen that she's been bitten, and it goes badly for him, sorta. They end up as a zombie couple. One of the zombies accidentally pulls the plug on the music, and then it's a free-for-all. Pandemonium ensues as most of the heroes escape. Jimmy and Lindsay kiss as the school explodes. What's left of the group decides to head to the power plant and blow it up too, since they figure out this is where all this started. But first the coach drives them to get pancakes.
Breakfast is always a priority.
It is, yeah. And they're all covered with, gore and blood and, clothes torn up and, all bruised. And, they're like, yeah, we're ready for a restaurant.
Waffle House will still serve you.
Yeah.
Well, the gore and creature effects are surprisingly good. The humor is also surprisingly good. The action scenes here were surprisingly good. Everything was good, and we were surprised.
Yes, we were. Yeah.
The only thing scarier than the prom is zombies. So overall, it is a very good zom-com.
I'm kind of hungry. Will you make me a sandwich?
No.
Make me a sandwich!
Which is a title of our short film this week. Make Me a Sandwich from 2023. Directed by Denman Hatch. Stars Ann Shepard and Peter Giggins. 3 minutes. They don't get much shorter and still have any kind of story to them.
And it is so effective for so short a time.
Yeah. There's a link in the show notes to watch it on YouTube. It's free and available now. What happens?
Well, where's my sandwich? Screams the grumpy-looking old man. His wife Marcy tries to start knitting, but he wants another sandwich. He's impatient and rude, and so after a few sandwiches, she puts dish soap on his bologna.
Ooh.
And he just eats it anyway.
And what else can she put in there?
And then he wants another one, and she's like, well, what else can I put in there?
All right, now I'm hungry. It's really short, well filmed, and looks really good. Mm-hmm. The end was unexpected, which is even better.
Yeah.
Don't eat the sandwiches. What's
At
next?
least be nice about it. Under the Skin from 2013, which was directed by Jonathan Glazer, written by Walter Campbell, Jonathan Glazer, and Michael Faber. Stars a big name Scarlett Johansson and Jeremy McWilliams and Lindsay Taylor McKay. Runtime's an hour and 48 minutes, and there's a trailer on YouTube.
I had never heard of this one until the DVD. We got the DVD, and I'm like,
it's one that
what's this?
It's one that I had seen the preview for and was intrigued. And spoiler free, this is slow moving, but we thought it was still really entertaining. It's visually beautiful and interesting. A lot is unexplained, but we were okay with that. And it's definitely an artsy indie kind of movie, despite having such a big name in the lead. So it's probably not going to be for everybody, but we horror guys liked it.
It's definitely artsy, but I'm not going to say it's fartsy.
No.
It's artsy but entertaining.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's a very visual movie for sure.
And a lot of it leaves you open to interpretation of what she's thinking and what's going on.
There's not a huge amount of dialogue.
Yeah, there's a lot of silences where, she's just looking and watching and stalking, and yeah.
We get long lingering shots of an eyeball before the credits roll. What? What's that about? Well, we cut to someone riding a motorcycle on a dark road, and he stops and goes off-road to pick up an unconscious woman and put her on the back of the truck. We then cut to someone undressing the woman in a pure white room. The woman doing the undressing is naked as well, and she puts on the other woman's clothes. We then see that they have similar faces. And I thought for a minute it was the same actress playing both parts, but it wasn't.
No.
The woman then goes to a shopping mall, and I'm just going to keep calling her the woman because she doesn't have a name.
Yeah, she is just the woman. It's Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Where
she gets a fur coat and some lipstick. She then stops her truck several times to talk to men alongside the road for directions. One guy admits he doesn't have any family, so she lets him get into the truck with her.
Yeah, you can kind of piece together she's looking for people that won't be missed.
Yeah. She eventually takes one home with her, and they both undress. He then sinks into the floor and vanishes. Huh?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, you figured she's going to be like a serial killer and kill him or something, but that's just a little different.
It's an interdimensional thing or something.
We don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
During the next day, she watches a swimmer at the beach. He says he's living in a little tent there, and she watches the man try to rescue a drowning man and his wife. And they both die, and the man is upset, but our woman doesn't seem to get too upset. She whacks him with a rock and drags him right past the dead man's abandoned baby, whom she ignores. She just wants the man, not the baby.
Mm-hmm.
The man on the motorcycle then goes to the swimmer's tent and collects the man's stuff and the baby. And later, we see the baby in the back of her car. And then we never see the baby again.
No, we don't.
We don't know what happens to that baby.
No, we don't.
That baby is sitting in front of the club still.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
She goes to a dance club and meets a single guy who ends up in a dark room with a magic sinking floor. We see that man sink into what looks like black tar, but beneath there, it's like he's underwater. But he can breathe, and he sees another man down there, the previous victim, until the previous victim sort of dissolves into nothing but empty skin.
And that was
a weird one.
And that was a neat effect too, because it starts out with them walking they're both naked, and he's following her, and he's sinking. She stays on the surface.
Yeah.
And then as he's under the surface, like it almost looks like he's floating in water.
And see her.
He looks up and sees her walking away, still on the surface. Yeah.
It's a neat effect, and it's really weird.
Yeah.
The next day, she meets up with the man on the motorcycle, and they stare at each other for a long time. Maybe they're telepathic. We don't know. Later, she's walking down the street and face plants into the pavement. She drives around all day, seemingly just watching people.
People watching.
Next, she picks up a man with a disfigured face. She tries to seduce the ugly man, but he's very suspicious. She has him touch her face, then her neck, then she compliments his hands. She eventually convinces him to go with her to the black room, and that ends just like the others.
Mm-hmm.
Later, we see him walking naked through a field outside of town. She released him. But the motorcycle man catches up to him and kills him off.
Yeah, I think she's starting to sympathize.
Yeah, she's getting more human as she watches people.
Yeah, it's rubbing off on her.
The woman parks on the side of the road and walks into a fog bank. She goes to a restaurant and has a slice of amazing-looking cake. She then tries to take a bite and spits it up. Food doesn't seem to agree with her.
Not that kind of food.
Rather than getting back into her own truck, she takes a bus. She meets a man on the bus who takes her home with him, and neither of them has much to say, but he gives her her own bedroom and leaves her alone. The next morning they go for a walk and see an old castle. They stop for a romantic kiss inside. They go home, and she lets him undress her. We see that the motorcycle man is out looking for the woman at this point, and he doesn't look happy about it. I think she's gone AWOL.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
She's-
gone native.
The woman stops halfway through sex and looks at her pelvic area as if she didn't know how it worked like that. And later on, we understand what's going on more. I think we know what we saw at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
She leaves him and goes out for a walk in the woods, and she runs into a logger who tells her all about the trails there. She finds a hiker's shelter and goes inside as it rains. The logger comes in while she's sleeping and tries feeling her up, but she runs away. He chases her, catches her, tears her clothes off, and then he tears her skin.
Oops.
Rip.
Yeah.
After what he sees, he runs off, and she realizes that her skin has been torn open. She removes her face, and she's just a shiny, hairless black thing underneath. Was it CGI or you think a costume?
I think it was a practical effect.
Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah. The face still moving was probably CGI. That was a neat effect because she's she's taken her outer skin off her disguise, like from the shoulders up, and she's holding her face, looking down at it, and the face still blinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a neat effect.
Well, then the logger comes back and he pours kerosene all over her and lights it. The motorcycle man arrives just in time to see the smoke from her burning body. And it ends.
Yeah, very weird.
It's a very visual, very artsy movie with lots of lingering, colorful shots of places and things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just visual.
Yeah.
The woman acts oddly all through the movie, and then when she tries to eat, we see that maybe she's not human. There's almost no dialogue except when she's trying to seduce men into her truck, so for most of what's going on, you have to figure it out for yourself.
And that's interesting how they filmed that. The director didn't tell those men, a lot of the ones in the movie, didn't tell them ahead of time. She just was literally striking up a conversation with strangers. And then afterward, the director, okayed it and cleared it with them and told them, hey, you're in a movie.
So if you ever walk down the street and see Scarlett Johansson in a truck trying to pick you up, go with it.
Yeah, the random strangers that she was talking to.
Yeah, they weren't actors.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Scarlett Johansson was still a fairly big star when this was made, so she'd already been in a lot of stuff. This is definitely not a Hollywood kind of production. She actually picked up most of the men off the street for real, and her questions for them were unscripted. They were later told that they were part of a movie. It's very slow-moving, but for some reason that I can't explain, it wasn't boring. It's one of those things you just can't look away.
And the disfigured man, I thought I recognized him because I'd seen a documentary about him and his twin.
He really looks like that.
He really looks like that. That was not makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, still, I can definitely say this one's not going to be for everyone. Other than the fact that the woman turns out to be an alien, nothing is really explained. And we don't really even know that she's an alien. She could be a demon or some weird forest monster or something like that. She's just not human.
Interdimensional or, yeah. We don't know. But you should see it and decide for yourself. Yeah.
And then that takes us to 2020's The Night House, directed by David Bruckner, written by Ben Collins and Luke Piotrowski, stars Rebecca Hall, Sarah Goldberg, and Vondie Curtis Hall, hour and 47 minutes. Spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free?
What happens?
This is one that really leaves you wondering what is going on throughout it, right up through the ending. And that's a good thing. The effects, acting, script, and everything about this one is a win. It's very entertaining and chilling. That ending just about gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, she mostly carries the movie by herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's heavily, yeah. What happened?
What was that one she was in with Tim Roth?
I don't remember what it was called.
It's newer than this one, just this past year.
Rebecca
Yeah, okay, you look that up.
I will look that up. I can't recall the name of it.
We get views.
That was a good one, too.
We get views of a nice country home on the lake as the credits roll. Beth comes in alone, carrying a cooked meal, leaving her friend outside to leave. She dumps the food, pan and all, into the trash.
That was Resurrection.
Resurrection, yes, when she meets her long-lost former husband.
Yeah.
And maybe their child.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good, too.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Well, she drinks heavily and watches her old wedding videos, and it soon becomes obvious that she was returning from her husband's funeral in the previous scene. Well, there's a knock downstairs, but when she goes to investigate, there's no one there. Is that a man's reflection in the glass? And at this point, you're thinking it's a haunted house movie, and that's not it.
It's way more complicated than that. We shouldn't spoil this too much.
Nah.
We shouldn't spoil that ending.
We shouldn't spoil the previous one either, but we did.
Well, that's an older one. Though.
Okay, this is newish.
Yeah.
A little bit more, though. Morning comes, and Beth goes out. She sees the gate to the dock is open, and also what looks like bloody footprints leading off the end of the dock up to her deck. Not out to a boat, up from the water.
From the water. Yeah.
She then hears a shot and jumps. It's just somebody hunting or something. She then goes to school for teacher training and sits with her friend Claire. Hunter's mom, Becky, comes to see her to argue about her son's C in speech. If you've ever been a teacher, you know how parents can get.
Yeah.
Well, Beth tells her that her husband took a boat out onto the lake and shot himself in the head Thursday, and Beth is suitably appalled and leaves as quickly as he can.
Yeah,
That's why you didn't get a good grade.
Yeah. And she's like, okay, what? You want an A? Okay, we'll give him an A. And she rattles off why she doesn't care. Boy, yeah, that parent heads out quick.
Well, when she goes home, she finds that Mel is there, and he offers to haul away that rowboat. She notices that the bloody footprints are all gone. She mentions that even though her husband Owen built the house, she's thinking about selling it. That night, she puts his clothes in the donation bag and puts away all the photos. She also finds a book of plans for the house they built. The plans show off maze-like rooms under the house.
What?
She didn't know about that.
No.
Late that night, the stereo turns itself on and wakes Beth up. She gets a text from Owen. Come down. Don't be afraid. She calls Owen's phone, and someone picks up. Look out the window. She sees a naked man standing out in the lake, and then she wakes up. In the morning, there's no record of anything on her phone. She charges and checks out his phone, but there's nothing there either, except she starts finding photos of other women. Maybe it's Beth or someone who looks just like her. Okay, we'll probably stop there.
Yeah, we should.
It turns out there's lots of photos of women who look just like her.
And it gets complicated of why?
Is he a stalker?
Well,
he certainly has a type.
She looks into it, and she finds out things. Yeah.
Okay, well, this one is really good. You have no idea where it's going or what Owen was really up to. Is he a ghost? Was he a serial killer? Could it be something worse? Are Beth's problems really over at the end? Nothing was really... Well, okay, I don't think...
Yeah, you don't say that.
Murder.
Things happen. Yeah.
The acting is good and the setting is good. Everything is dark, but it's enough to tell what's going on at all times. I like the ones that there's dark that you can see.
But you can still see it.
Yeah, the not really there, but also visible look of the thing at the end is really cool. And the ending is fairly ambiguous.
Is it over or is it not?
Yeah.
We don't know.
They act like it's over, but I don't see why it would be.
We're not so sure it would be, yeah.
All right, and that's the movies for this week. Over at horrorbulletin.com, you can read, or in your email, if you've signed up, you would be able to read The Slumber Party Massacre from 1982. And the killer in that one's not quite as iconic as some of the others, but he's good. He gets the job done.
A drill is his trademark.
The Driller Killer.
Yep.
And 2021 Slumber Party Massacre is a remake. And it was also actually pretty good, too.
It was more spoofy.
Yeah, it was almost a parody of itself.
Almost. It still got the gore and horror, but it was definitely dark humor in it and self-satirizing, I guess.
For a remake of a 50-year-old movie, it was funny. It knew what it wanted.
Yeah.
It knew what it was. It's a silly remake.
Changes up some of the gender tropes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. The first one is just an all-girl slumber party, and here we got a girl slumber party and a guy slumber party going on at the same time.
Usually we would say either watch the original because the remake sucks, or watch the remake because it's so much better than the original. In this case, I think it's probably good to watch both. They're both good in different ways.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, should see them both back to back, preferably.
Yeah, that's the way we did it.
Yeah.
All right, well, tune in next week where we're going to have Scream 6 and some other things. A lot of good stuff next week.
Ghostface, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say Ghostface. He's right there on the poster.
Yeah.
Why is he back again?
Who's under that mask this time?
Or who all's under that mask this time? There's usually two in that series.
Sometimes there has been, yeah.
All right, well, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.